JESA, Japura Employability Skill Awards, is proudly presented by the Career Guidance Unit in collaboration with the Career Skill Development Society of University of Sri Jayewardenepura. It is being inaugurated for the 7th consecutive year as well. So, good evening to all of you who are trying to hand with us today for the 5th workshop of JESA 2022, Simulation at Assessment Center. Without further delay, I would like to welcome you warmly. First and foremost, I would like to welcome Professor Sudat Manjula Mursena, the head of the Department of Teachers and Science in the Faculty of Management Studies and Commerce and the Director of the Career Guidance Unit, and Mrs. Chaturhangini Tendukon, Career Advisor of Career Guidance Unit and the Senior Treasurer of the Career Skill Development Society for the today's session. And then I want to take this opportunity to welcome the organizing committee members of JESA and JESA workshop series to this event. Also, please accept my heartfelt welcome to the audience who are joining us today, as you are indeed the heart and soul of JESA workshop series. As the most important part of the event, let me introduce our resource person, Manager of Performance and Talent Engagement at Hydramani NIT Cluster, Mrs. Isuru Pereira. Very good evening, Madam. We are immensely pleased to have you here today. So, Madam, now it's your time to enlighten this young undergraduate with your words.
Okay, good evening, everyone, and thank you, Dilmi. Thank you so much for the introduction. So before we start, let me quickly share my screen. Okay, I hope you all can see my screen. Can someone quickly confirm?
Yes, madam.
Right. Okay. So thank you once again, everyone, and very good evening to you. It's a great pleasure for me also to be with the young graduates like this, undergrads like this. And without further ado, we can start the session, which is on workshop, which is on assessment centers. And I'm Isuru Pereira, working for Hydramani NIT Maharagama as the Manager Performance and Talent. So before we go into the topic, let me quickly give an introduction to our company first. So for you all to get an understanding why we as an organization want to help young people like you, what is our objective behind it. So Hydramani, our theme is Create the Future. So as an organization with a history for over 100 years, we have been creating the future of apparel, and we are the pioneer Sri Lankan manufacturing industry. And we brighten the world of fashion with new ways to succeed. So, and Hydramani Group is not only into apparel, we are into other business segments as well, like leisure, renewable energy, retail, and services. So this is our global footprint. So we do have companies in Ethiopia, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, and Vietnam. So this is the global footprint of ours. And Hydramani, as I said, this is our apparel strength. We operate in about 4 countries with many sourcing offices, manufacturing facilities, etc. And then sustainability is something that as an organization, we are very keen on. So under sustainability, we have 4 pillars. Why I want to mention this to you is this is also one of the initiatives that we believe we do under our sustainability concept. So one thing is we want to conserve the environment, nurture our employees, and support communities and trusting good choices. So when it comes to support communities, this is also one of the initiatives that we want to take. We want to help our future generation because we believe one day you will become our employee, and you are in the community that we operate in. So while nurturing our employees, it's our duty also to nurture and help our young generations to be potential employees in the future. So we want to attract people like you to our organization. So today's session is going to help you to be the best candidate in the in the future when you are facing for interviews. So before we start the session, I will let you know at the end of the session, you will get to know about these things. The first one is psychometric tools and assessments used for graduates. And also, I would like to tell something about the history of assessment centers because it will help you all to understand the concept behind it much better. And what are the characteristics and activities that we use in an assessment center? And what would be the target audience of assessment centers? And for what we generally as an organization or as organization, for what we use these assessment centers? And details of assessment centers activities and additional methods that we use. And also some tips for you all to be the best in this show. So we know that you all have the capabilities, but how you have to perform well and be someone who is unique. So I will give few tips to you as the last point of our presentation. So before we talk about the assessment center specifically, let me tell you something about the subject called or the study or the field called psychometrics. So psychometrics are standard and scientific methods used to measure mental capabilities and behavioral styles. So these psychometric tools are designed to measure candidates' suitability for a particular role and the required. So when it comes to a role, we do have predefined personality characteristics and aptitude that we are looking for as an organization. So these psychometric tests are designed based on that particular requirement of that role. So it is used as part of the recruitment and selection and people development process by employers like us to assess the ability in specific skills. Mainly behavioral competencies, knowledge, ability, attitudes, and personality traits. So I want to highlight two keywords here. Mainly, we use the psychometric tests in order to understand the behavioral competencies and personal traits. And it will also help find out the personal qualities by using personality questionnaires also. So psychometric, when it comes to assessment centers are one of the parts that come under this psychometric field. So when it comes to graduate psychometric assessments, I would like to give some specific areas that we are looking into undergraduate psychometric assessments. So they are often used as a part of an assessment center, which we are going to discuss further in later slides. And types of psychometric tests are like numerical reasoning, verbal reasoning, inductive reasoning. So let me quickly explain. When it comes to numerical reasoning, we give you all a set of patterns for your or numbers for you all to understand and analyze that numbers and give the answer. When it comes to inductive reasoning, the verbal reasoning is about comprehension. We give you all a passage and then we ask some questions. So based on that, you have to answer the questions. So when inductive reasoning is something that we use in psychometric assessments. Say for an example, we give you a certain set of patterns And by looking at the initial patterns, you generalize or you come to a conclusion. This is going to be the final answer. If I tell it in other words, for an example, like you believe the particular teacher is using a PowerPoint presentation for one lesson, and you come to a conclusion, okay, the entire course will be presented via PowerPoint presentation. So something like that. You get the initial idea and you generalize it and come to a conclusion. So diagrammatic reasoning and logical reasoning, both we give you diagrams, and based on the diagrams, you need to analyze and give the answer. So error checking, you have to find out which one is incorrect out of a given set of data. So these are some of the psychometric assessments that we use, types of psychometric tests that we use in graduate interviews. And then some widely used psychometric tools are also there, and also there's a misbelief that people think that the following tools known as batteries are used to test the aptitude of candidates, but they are not assessment centers, but these are some of the tools that we used as a part of the assessment center. But I explained before also, numerical reasoning skills, verbal reasoning skills, those are very widely used psychometric tools. And we have another thing called in-tray exercises. These are all technical words, but I will give you some examples. So in-tray exercises means that you will be given, for an example, a set of emails, the actual scenarios, and you have to go through, maybe those emails are based on customer complaints, and it could be some informative messages. So based on that, you have to answer certain questions or come to or make certain decisions. So by giving these actual scenarios, you have to analyze these scenarios, and then you have to give your conclusion or the decision. So basically we check the decision making by doing this in-tray exercises. When you call it in-tray exercises, you will get the physical document. Like say if it is an email, you will be given a physical document or email document to check. Or else if it is e-tray exercises, you will have the e-forms or the e-documents to check and then to make the decision. So the next one is, again, this iris, that candidates will be given some work-based scenarios. Again, similar to the in-tray exercises, you will be given some actual scenarios, and then you will have to give the possible responses by analyzing the information given in that actual scenario. And the next one is learning potential computerized adaptive test. This will assess the present learning potential left in y'all and the future learning ability. So these are like some of the tools that we use, widely used as psychometric tools. But you don't have to remember all these technical words, because if you are to face such a psychometric test, you will be given the instructions by the recruiter. So you don't have to be worried. So this is just to enter into our topic that I'm explaining. We have these things on board under psychometric field of study. So then we are coming on to our main topic today, that is Assessment and Development Center. So Assessment and Development Center is also one of the widely used psychometric tools out of the ones that we discussed. So what we basically check by doing an assessment center or a development center, we are looking for behavioral competencies. When I say behavioral competencies, in any organization, we do have our own competency framework. So if you take a particular job, we have the predefined set of competencies. It could be technical competencies and as well as the behavioral competencies. When I say behavioral competencies, mainly your critical thinking aspect, it could be your leadership skills, communication, your negotiation skills, etc. So organizations have already identified the competencies required for that particular job, and these assessment center exercises are designed in order to check whether you have these behavioral qualities in you. So when it comes to paper qualification, by looking at your resume or the curriculum vitae, we all can understand that you have the required paper qualification, required for the job. So then you get shortlisted. But how we are going to, how we have to select the best person out of the crowd that we have shortlisted will be based on the behavioral competency assessment that we do through these assessment centers. Okay, so when you look at this picture, I don't know whether can anyone give an idea what is it about? Because I'm just trying to give you a few hints about the history of assessment center, because when I explain the history, it will be really easy for you all to understand the concept. So this particular picture will show you a person who is performing in front of some observers or in front of an audience, some of the skills, right? And you can see there's a girl also on the other side looking at this person. So this is one of the methods that we used a long time ago. So this particular incident is actually this person is performing in front of his future bride. So this person will be selected as the best groom for this princess based on the skills that he is going to show. So assessment center is also something like this. So you all will be selected for the assessment center based on your initial qualification, but you have to demonstrate your skills in front of an audience or the observers to get to prove yourself as the best person for this. So this is how a long time ago it has been, even this assessment center concept has been used even in the history. So this history goes about like in India, which has been used, the book called Arthashastra, if you have heard of it. Arthashastra is a Sanskrit Indian manual which was talking about the politics they used in India during the time of a Mauryan dynasty. So this book has been written by the author called Chanakya or Kautilya. So Chanakya was the chief minister to the emperor of Chandragupta, who was the founder of Mauryan dynasty. So at that time, this assessment center concept had been used by them in order to assess candidates for their ministerial positions. So through observation, performance appraisal, they were selected as the best minister during that time. So this has a long history. It's not a new concept. And then slowly or gradually, the early application of this particular concept started by German army during the world wars to select the best, personnel for their army. And this was again adopted by British in order to select the War Office selection boards and civil services. And also it was again followed by USA, this for Office of Strategic Studies. And then the first commercial use had happened in 1956. AT&T use this for personal decisions such as potential appraisal and promotions. So that is how it came to the commercial part of it. So I just want to explain you the history, because then you will just try to recall the childhood stories that you heard about this ancient, how the kings had to perform, or princess had to perform in front of a team and to get selected as the best groom. So that will give you the idea about the assessment center. So again, so if you go for the definition of the assessment centers, it's a methodology used to observe behavioral competencies of candidates on predetermined criteria believed to be important for the position applied for, by exposing them to different situations. So I said we have a particular job, say for an example, if it is a management trainee job, then we have a predefined, determined criteria, different competencies lined up, which is required for this particular job. And we come up with set of exercises that we want to do with the candidates, creating different situations. And we get y'all to do that particular exercise in front of the panel, and panel will make a collective decision by looking at your performance. So this is what we call simply an assessment center. So as assessment center activities will always include or consist of group of participants, undertake range of exercises and simulations, which we will discuss in later slide. And these simulations will be observed by trained observers, representative from the particular organization. Then participants measured on a set of predetermined competencies related to this job. They will mark you, say, communication skills, negotiation skills, etc., for an example. And then the final decisions will be made based on multiple observers and multiple sources. It's not one just singular or single person's decision, but it's a collective decisions that we are going to make through our observations. So these are the three main characteristics when it comes to assessment center. So we have multiple factors, multiple observers, and the decision or the measurement is going to be decided by integration of those measurements of those observers. So it's again a collective decision that we want to make about the candidate. So it's very unbiased, and the decision being made based on the performance that you do at the assessment center. So what are not assessment centers? We do have certain myths. Say if you have a multiple interview process, we don't call it an assessment center. So obviously the psychometric test batteries, like during the interview process, if you are given with some numerical reasons or verbal reasoning to do, that we do not consider as an assessment center. So all types of individual assessments that you are required to do during the interview process, again, is not an assessment center. So work sample test. So work sample test means you will given an actual scenario. Based on those actual scenarios, probably to answer some questions. So those things are not, those are not assessment center. So obviously, if there is a building label assessment center, that is also not going to be assessment centers. But all these things could be a part of it. So assessment centers always will be multiple activities that we are going to do. So these things individually will not make an assessment center, but it could be a part of it. Okay, so target audience of assessment centers, usually organizations use assessment centers for large group recruitments. When it comes to undergraduates like you will get the opportunity mostly if you apply for a management trainee job. So obviously you will have to face for this assessment center. So it does not stop at that point. Also for sales competency development program. So if you have certain sales personnel in organizations, in order to check their competencies, in order to identify the development needs, also we conduct these assessment centers. So I want to highlight that it's not only for recruitments that we use assessment centers. There are some other purposes. For other purposes also organization use this assessment center. So leadership development programs. So you have set of identified emerging leaders in the company, and if you want to develop their leadership skills, again we can use this concept assessment centers for that also. Succession planning. Succession planning is we try to identify whether we have potential future roles are readily available in the company. So if we have a managing director position in the company, do we have another person in the pipeline who will be ready to take up that position as a successor? So for that, in order to identify successors, also we can use this assessment centers in organization. Okay, we have promotion cycle. So if you want to promote someone, to identify who is the best person to be promoted, again we can use assessment centers. And obviously for a competition like JESA, for an example, in that case, if you want to identify someone who is the best speaker, who is the best leader, who is the best communicator, if you want to identify or recognize best performer in a particular subject area, again we can use assessment center. So the exercises that we are going to give will be based on the purpose of having this assessment center. And for what we conduct assessment centers, the similar scenarios: recruitment and selection, potential appraisal, career planning, succession planning, promotion, development plan, and training need analysis. So training needs analysis means by giving certain exercises, we try to identify their training needs also. So then we can come up with a training plan and have some learning interventions based on that. So when you want to design an assessment center, so if the organization wants to design an assessment center, what are the factors that we want to consider? The main thing is job-related exercises. If it is a management trainee position, first we need to identify what are the competencies that we are looking for, or we want to look for in these candidates, and based on that we line up certain exercises, which I'm going to show you in the later slides. And we also get participants' background. Now, if it is some undergraduates or fresh graduates like y'all, then we get all the your background. So your study, what field that you have studied, some demographic details. So based on that, we develop those exercises. And competency exercise metrics means, I told you before, when you take a particular job, we have a set of competencies identified, which we believe that that is required for this particular job, and then we do have the ideal or the expected level of that competency. Say if it is communication skills, to what extent that particular job will need that particular skill. It could be advanced level, it could be basic level, it could be intermediate, etc. And then this metrics will also give a field to mark the present level of yours. So when we assess you, if you want to assess your decision-making skills, we will have an exercise related to decision-making, and then we'll have the ideal level of competency that we are looking for, whether we are looking for a mastery level decision-making skill in your, and what is your current level. So the metrics will have both ends, and with that we can identify the gap. Say if a particular candidate has the expected level, so obviously that person will be shortlisted. And also the types of exercises that we are going to use, whether it's a case study or whether it's management exercises, whether it's a Lego exercises, etc. So all these 4 factors will be considered when we design an assessment center. Okay, so these are some of the exercises that we use. If you look at the left side, I have given the particular name of the exercise that we do, and on the right side, I have given the particular skill or the competency that we try to check or assess by doing this particular exercise with your. First one is icebreaker. By doing icebreakers, we usually do it as the first one in the assessment center. It will help everyone to know each other, and also get everyone to be active. It's sort of an energizer that we do in order to break the ice. So this is usually we do it as the first step in the assessment center. So origami simulations is also, you know that origami. So origami simulations, we will give you some origamis to do. By doing that, we want to understand your time management skill, because you will be given a time frame to do this with the instructions. So your listening skills, to what extent that you have listened to the instructions given, will help you to do a better job, and how we are going to plan everything within the given time frame. And if you're doing it with your peers or with the other team members, how we are going to communicate with each other to make this more successful as a group. So these set of observers will observe the way you do these particular activities at that time, and they will rate you based on your performance. Lego simulation. Lego is, you will be given a sample Lego and same set of blocks, and you will have to follow the instructions, and by looking at that particular sample given, you have to, as a team, you have to make that particular Lego. So then as a team, how we are going to lead everyone. So obviously there will be you have to appoint a leader in the team, and by looking at it, we can identify to what extent that you have used your creative thinking to this particular Lego. So likewise, we use these type of simulations. Group discussion. So group discussion, we can give you a particular scenario, and as a group, you have to discuss and come up with the expected result. So by doing this, we want to see how we are going to negotiate with each other. Say we can have 2 groups, and we will give one particular task. Say for an example, someone to sell a particular good to another group. So then that group will be given a limited resources, for an example. Then how we are going to negotiate with the other group, to get the goods to the limited resources that you all using the limited resources that you all have. So to what extent you can influence the other group, negotiate with them, and to what extent the other group can sell their idea to you all these things will be monitored during group discussions. I'm just giving a few examples only here, but there could be different, types of exercises even under group discussions that organizations will use for this purpose. Presentation. So you will given a particular topic, and then you have to do a presentation. So you will given a time frame, and there will be an outcome communicated to you in advance. So how we are going to present that to the audience, how confident you are in presenting your idea to the audience, and the clarity of the presentation will be assessed by these set of observers. And then the next one is case studies, which is, I think, very familiar for y'all. So case study will be given. Based on the case study, there will be certain questions for y'all to answer. So with that, the observers will try to understand your analytical skills and mainly your attention to detail. You know, when you go through a case study, it's very, very important that you jot down the details, because those details will give you the best answer, the possible answer. So attention to detail is a must, because in certain jobs, say for an example, if you take a customer service, or say for an example, in an organization like us, we'll have a role called merchandiser. So these people will get lot of data and information from the customer, and to what extent you have this attention to detail skill will help you perform a good job. So person with a very good attention to detail, because you have to go through so many emails and there are a lot of information given. So a job will require these qualities or the competencies in you. And by doing case studies, simulations, we try to understand who has this quality better. And then business games. By doing certain business game, role plays, and we again try to understand your critical thinking, the risk management skill, and also the decision making. So risk management, in the sense, we can give a scenario uh, uh, where you have to come up with a contingency plan, and to what extent that you are ready to take up that risk. So all these things will be checked during this assessment center exercises time. So in basket exercises, again, I was talking about this in tray exercises, and in basket exercises are also the same thing. So you will be given some actual scenarios, a set of emails, a set of problem pieces, and then by studying that, you have to make make decisions by discussing with your team. So then you, how to what extent you are confident about it, and your creative thinking and leadership skills will be checked with that. So additional methods of assessment. So in addition to those methods what we discussed in the previous slide, there are some other assessment methods also we use during the assessment centers. Now, the one that recently held in my previous organization, we had those exercises on the first day, and the second day we conducted some interviews as well with the team. So the observers will also ask, like, do another interview with you. That interview mostly based on the behavioral based questions will be asked. So probably you have to tell them, like, say they will ask, okay, come up with an actual scenario or incident that you recently demonstrated your influencing skills. So you have to, it's very open-ended questions being asked, and then you have to answer those behavioral based questions. The psychometric instruments that I at the very beginning we were discussing, so I'm not going to repeat that. So certain other psychometric tools will also be used as an additional method. And then the next one is some questionnaires. Questionnaires will be given for you to answer. So the sociometry is I think it is going to be a new thing for you all maybe. So sociometry is a concept that we use as an additional method in assessment centers. This is, we get the peers to rate you all. So now as a team, you have been doing exercises in the assessment centers, then your peers also can assess you to, to what extent you have maintained your interpersonal relationship with the team, how good you are at communicating with your peers. So peers also will give some rating. So based on that, we can identify whether you are a good team player, whether you fit with any set of people. So those things will also be identified by using this sociometry methodology in assessment centers. Okay, so with that, I will definitely give you a chance to ask some questions. Now we are coming on to the other, the tips part of it, which is going to be the best part of the entire thing, I believe. So how we are going to be the best in show, right? So you all will get shortlisted most of the time based on the basic information given in your resume. But to be the bestest out of the best will depend on your performance at the assessment center, in case if the organization is going to make the final decision based on assessment center. So in order to be the best in show, there are some critical factors required for your performance. One is the personality, the second is the ability, third is the interest, fourth is the motivation. So these are the 4 critical factors that we believe that you need to have in order to be a better performer, right? So when you look at this picture, I have given 4 types of motorbikes, right? So, and I have also given the engine capacity underneath, starting from 49cc to it goes up to 1000cc, the racing bike. So the performance of these 4 bikes are not the same, right? They are obviously different. So how it has become different purely based on its engine capacity, right? So in the same way, I want to explain how capacity differentiates the performance. So these bikes will perform in different ways based on their engine capacity. So similarly, the capacity of a person, which is decided upon one's brain power. Okay. So in other words, which is the engine? So our engine is our brain. So how can you gain this? This can be gained by educational qualification and experience. So obviously, when you pass out from the university, you will have these educational qualifications. You are rich in that. So we all believe the similar or the same paper qualification you will have when you get out of the university. So experience you will get with the time. But even at the university, by doing certain extracurricular activities, you acquire certain experience or some skills into your life, in addition to the educational qualifications that you do. That is why we always ask questions about the extracurricular activities that you do in the university, because when it comes to educational qualification, we know that everyone, the most of you are at the same level. So the competitive advantage that you have will be gained by doing certain, extracurricular activities, the experience that you gain by them. And also the motivation is one of the factors that you need to have. It's a must. So not that I can't do it, but I can do it. Mindset is very important. So I'm not going to explain about motivation in detail. Basically, it is can-do mindset that you need to have. Okay. I'm not quite sure whether you have seen Shelley Ann Fraser. So she's one of the Jamaican track and field sprinter. She's the only person to win 5 world titles in 100 meters. And in 2019, she was the first mother to win a global title in the 100 meters. I want to show this picture. When you have interest, when you are motivated and when you have interest towards something, no matter what barriers you have, you will reach your goal, you will achieve your goal. So this is one of the real life examples that I want to show, because she was injured once, and but just after her injury period in 2016, she won the gold medal. Then she became a mother, but still she performed well, getting a global title. And in 2022, she again won the world champion title and became the oldest sprinter ever to become the world champion, because now she's 35 years of age, but still she's doing her athletics. So if you in the recent world champions also she performed well. So when you have interest, sky is the limit. And okay, so we discussed about three things, that is your capability, your motivation, and your interest. So will these three factors alone determine same performance, right? So you will just have a second thought on this. So you go for an interview, you face the interview, you have the similar, probably two people go for the same interview with the same qualities, but both of them will not get the job. So what is the reason behind it that I want to explain y'all? So that is the tip that I want to give y'all at this moment, because that is going to be the highlighted one that we want to check by doing an assessment center. So what will matter a lot? Matter a lot will be the personality. So the last factor of your performance. So personality matters a lot, and it is like a hull of a ship. So the character of a person, the holistic view of a person, which is comprised of the values, beliefs, mentality, attitude, competencies, and your ability to execute. So by doing an assessment center, all the employers or the prospective employers will look at these qualities or these personality traits in you. So you get shortlisted for the capacity and the educational qualification, and because you are interested in that job, you apply for it. But why one person will get the job and why not the other person? Purely based on the personality and the ability to execute. So by doing assessment centers, we try to understand whether you have the ability to execute. That is why we want to give some exercises to y'all, and then we try to observe your attitude, because these set of observers will carefully study and examine the way you behave within that particular group. So that is how they want to understand this person is going to be the best fit for this particular role. So with that, I want to conclude the session about assessment centers, and just want to remind you about our engagement with the university. So the Best Communicator Award selection happened in 2021. We conducted similar session like this. So we want to continue the relationship we have with the university, and it's a great pleasure for us also. So with that, we can wind up this session, and I'm going into questions and answers forum. So if you have any questions, then now it's time for y'all to clarify more about the topic. If you are not willing to ask, you can even use the chat box. So then I can help you. I can just read out the question and give you the answer at the same time. Dilmi, do you think that they have questions? If not, we can wind up the session. Okay. Madam, I have a question with my personality. Wherever I enter into something, I got afraid. What can I do? Okay. Right. We have one question here. Okay. So it's basically how the tip that I can give you, so you first thing is that you need to come out of the perception that you have about your personality. So I have a question with my personality. Like just get rid of that mentality you have. There's no problem in your personality. But the only thing is, when you get a chance to face for an interview, please make yourself prepared well for that. So one thing is you need to go through about the organization. Just browse the website and try to understand well about the organization, their vision, and the recent activities that they have done, some sort of an idea about the organization. And go through the particular job advertisement well in advance couple of times, because in most of the job advertisements, they give you the particular tasks to be handled and their expectation. So it's very important for y'all to understand that requirement and whether that requirement will match with what you have in your mind, and then get yourself prepared with the possible questions that they might ask based on the job. So obviously you don't have any experience, but you can relate the experience you have as of now, even at your university, in the school. So just get some possible questions and practice what you're going to say. So they will ask about yourself, and obviously don't try to repeat the things that you have in the CV, but just try to give them some sort of an idea, the things that you have not mentioned in your CV. So then write that and practice well in front of the mirror, or how we are going to face that. Just maintain eye contact. If you are really afraid of talking in front of an audience, the only option that you have is to practice well in advance. So practice will make you a better person. I hope I answered your question. Go through your first go through your the job advertisements that you have received. Prepare your CV based on the job requirement. Don't have a general CV for all the jobs that you apply. So always customize your CV based on the job advertisement, and prepare yourself with the possible questions, because they will ask some questions based on the job role given. So get ready with that. And open-ended questions they will ask, as I told, like you have just give an example that you have demonstrated this particular skill during your university life, and what sort of for an example, another thing I can say, give some challenges that you faced during your final year project and how you overcome them. So during your internship, what did you do, and what was the challenges that you faced in the corporate world when you go there for the first time, how you overcome them. So those type of questions, get ready with good answers. And there's another question. Could you please elaborate a bit more how motivation and interest is assessed? Right. Okay. So during the assessment center, obviously we cannot check the motivation, accept, and the interest. The interest to a certain extent, yes, we will check that because now how active you are in a particular exercise and how you want to take the initiative within the group, giving your ideas. So there are some people that they do the exercise, but they hardly get engaged with the team. So how you try to give your ideas, no matter there's no right and wrong answer when it comes to ideas. So then to what extent you present yourself within the group will give some sort of an idea to the observers about your interest. So motivation, obviously we believe that you are motivated, that is why you applied for the particular job. So, but as a person, you will have to have that motivation, that then only you will try to do your background study before you come for that. So you have this internet option. You can browse and check about assessment centers, more details about the exercises that usually we do. So just study, do your homework and go. So you should have that motivation well in advance to perform well in the assessment center. So observers will try to understand, to what extent that you present yourself, answer the questions, take initiatives, take leadership, and cope up with the team. All these things will be, again, your interest could be evaluated based on your behavior during the sessions. Anything else? Dilmi, can you confirm if they have any other questions? If not, I can go to the last slide.
Yes, madam. There is no any further question.
Right. Okay. So then, with that, we can wind up the session. So the one last message that I want to give you all is, strategy is important, but execution is everything. So in this world, incredibly successful people always focus on executing incredibly well. So you will have many ideas, you will have a lot of strategies with you, but how well you are capable of executing that particular idea during the opportunity given to you will make you a successful person. So when you are facing an assessment center, please make sure that you are competent enough to execute well. So the tips are, please listen well, like follow the instructions and be a good team player, and try to execute your idea by influencing others, by negotiating with others, and then only these observers will recognize you as a unique person uh, out of the group of people that we assess. So please do remember, successful people focus on executing incredibly well. So thank you so much, everyone, for giving me this opportunity also to talk to y'all. And I believe this session will help you and gave you some tips how to face your assessment centers in future. So let's do keep in touch. If you have any questions, if you want to have some personal coaching, we are always there to help you. So wish you all the very best for your future career. Thank you so much.
I'm quite sure that today's session will be very insightful in your near future for JESA 2022. So it's great honor to remark the word of thanks for this insightful session. First, I would like to thank our resource person today, Mrs. Isuru Pereira, Manager of Performance and Talent Engagement in Hyderabad NEET Cluster. Thank you very much, dear ma'am, for spending your spacious time to be here with us today and sharing your knowledge with us. Your expert knowledge and experience altogether are indeed enlightenment to us. Also, I express my deep sense of gratitude to Professor Sudat Manjula Marasena, the head of the Department of Decision Science and the Director of Career Guidance Unit, for the guidance, encouragement, and support that you have given, making our effort a success. And my heartfelt thanks goes to Mrs. Chaturangani Tennakon, Career Advisor of the Career Guidance Unit and the Senior Treasurer of the Career Skill Development Society, for extending your helping hand at all moment of need. I thank all the members of the organizing committee for all the support in making this event a success. Last but not least, I would like to thank our amazing audience for joining us to make this session a success. Thank you very much for your cooperation. With that, we shall mark the end of our session today. Good night and stay safe.